Now, I would like you to introduce my team. Starting with the currents, our current chairperson, Abhishri Tembekar, current general secretary, Sheetal Das, and current membership chairperson, Tanvi Naik. Our elects, current chairperson, Sakshi Patel, current vice chairperson, Nidhi Chauhan, current general secretary, Ananya Gupta, current treasurer, Swati Molia, and current membership chairperson, Nirmati Lal. Our heads, technical head Tanusha Hande, co-technical head Anuja Sheware, PR and outreach head Arya Gavri, creative head Ritvija Obare, graphics and social media head Vedangi Gopal, marketing head Nishigandha Sarode, co-marketing head Huda Kazi, and logistic head Manasvi Sarnaik. Our current chapter sponsor is Dr. Anita More. So moving further, to our main agenda of the event, we are thrilled to have Mr. Vinit Gholap as a guest speaker for this event. He is graduated from VJTI, one of the top colleges in the Mumbai, and IIM Bangalore, the prestigious institute. He has served companies including Pink Villa, Zee Entertainment Enterprises, and Times Internet. He is currently working as a director in product management at Affinity Global Inc. He has 8 years of experience in building and scaling multiple technology products. Now I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Vinit Gholap.
Introduction. Thank you for inviting me to this session, and giving me an opportunity to express, or rather share my thoughts, experiences with you guys. Uh, have been on the other side, being where you are almost 10 years back, and now having spent almost 8 years in the industry, I surely have a lot of experiences to share with you guys. And in terms of this session on CV building, I'll be keeping it, something. I'll be sharing thoughts which are industry insights. I would not go much into detail of how the CV should look or all the design. You guys are experts in that. In my overall experience, I've seen, I've hired across tech roles, product roles, business roles. I've seen CVs, I've seen creativity, but surely I'll point out to few details which will help you guys build a better CV and get a visibility for your profile at the time of placements. So let me share my screen, support what I'm going to talk about. Mostly I'll try to explain to you all the pointers which I've put in the PPT. And surely I'd love this to be a dialogue in place of a monologue. So at any point of time, you would have a very quick query. You guys can raise your hands, or we'll also have a time at the end for a Q&A session. So this is the agenda. So over the years, me myself being into the student life, and even now when I see CVs of freshers, even the others, I've seen one thing, especially for those who are just out of the college, who are looking for internships or placements as a freshers. So it will help you guys to have an understanding of the technology industry in the first place. So I'll be focusing a lot on the first pointer, which is understanding the technology industry. What are the different types of tech organizations, different technology roles, and their scope. So will be the base of this entire session, wherein once you understand that, okay, what are the different roles out there in the industry, when companies come for hiring, what are they looking for? So see, because every role has aligned skill sets with them. So if you have very clear understanding of roles, you will be able to build your profile with the skill sets. So that will be a goal of it. Post that will go across. Okay, CV building is an exercise, of course, which is required for you guys to go out into the market. But before that, what are the prerequisites? You will have to first build the profile, and then you will have a material to place into your CVs, right? So we'll go into that. Post that, we'll go into the structure of the CV. I'll share some smart strategies which will help you guys increase your visibility. Uh, See, because when you apply for an internship, just understand that across colleges and the companies, they hire across colleges, even within your own campus, there'll be many candidates who will be applying for it. So how can you distinguish your CV separately, compared to the competition? And because being on the other side, I've seen when we have open positions, there are hundreds and 200 or 300 CVs which come in. So I'll share with you thoughts of an hiring manager, how we shortlist CVs. And so what are those key points that we look into the CV? That's where you guys need to build your CV such that you present those key pointers. And then a few do's and don'ts. Post that will open the floor for a Q&A. Yeah. So yeah, these are the technology roles which I was talking about. I think it's very important for you guys to get a gist of these roles. Of course, later you guys can do your own research, understand each and every role. But the point here is whenever a company or any organization looks out for either interns or placements, at the back of their mind, they always have a strategy that, okay, I'm looking for 8 candidates, 4 might go into database, 4 might go into a web engineers or backend engineers. So a company, whenever they come for hiring, they always have a strategy in mind, because that's how the HR or that's how the capacity management within the organization works. So if you guys get a fair understanding, okay, this company is coming for a database engineer, and then if your CV reflects exactly those skill sets for that, that's what gives you an edge compared to others, and that's what increases your chances. So we'll go one by one very quickly into these. So the first one is DevOps engineer. These are mostly at the infrastructure level. So whenever any server setup has to be done, and applications infrastructure, be it cloud, or there are applications which are hybrid. Some part of it is on cloud, some part of it which is very confidential information. The companies do keep their own servers, hard metal servers. So all that work, wherein you deploy your application on a cloud server, you maintain that application, all the networking resources, all that infrastructure level work is being done by a DevOps engineer. Now at the right, I have just kept put in a very small list of tools, of course, the popular ones which are currently used in the industry, AWS, Google Cloud, or Git, Docker, Jenkins, Kubernetes. So why have I mentioned these here is because if you are targeting a DevOps role, be it at a junior level, of course, when you join as a fresher, uh, this is the minimum expectation that will be expected from you. So if your CV, so again I come to my older point that if a organization is looking at two candidates for that role, at least to begin into that role as a fresher, if you have AWS or GCP, either any certification or a project around that, or you have a knowledge about Git, Jenkins, that becomes a distinguishing point for you guys. So I'm not saying that you go into the list, you learn everything, go in depth into AWS, G Cloud, Azure. That's not possible. Even within the industry, those who know AWS very well, they would have no idea about GCP. So it's not that you can do everything, but if you are targeting this particular role, at least pick one or two of it and get a fair knowledge about it, or fair working knowledge, do some projects, courses, maybe some certifications, and that's where your profile becomes ready for a DevOps engineer. So these are more of a infra level guys. They don't do any business level coding, but an application, when it gets hosted and when it is live on production, that is when these guys maintain everything, also the security of an application. The next set is the database engineers. Now, the database engineer is more or less a guy who architects a database. So when we go to them as a requirement that, okay, for example, we want to create an application like Facebook, uh, a clone of a Facebook or a clone of a Netflix, for example. So then they will, within their end, they'll plan the architecture or schema of a database that, okay, there will be video files, there'll be user logins, there'll be users who will be clicking and liking a video. So I'll also have to serve, top videos that the user has already seen, their last seen videos, what they like. So all these different business logics will come into play. Based on that, these database engineers are like the architects of the database. So all the business logic works within the database. Again, with a lot of data which comes in, they also have to ensure that it is optimally and efficiently managed, because this is where the infrastructure cost comes in. And for businesses to be feasible, if you do not have an understanding of their schemas and how to efficiently manage a database, something which you can save within 1 TB, uh, a non-efficient database structure will lead you to save the same information in 12 TBs, and 12 times extra cost to in the organization. So database engineers are also very core technological role. So at the top, you would see I have also mentioned one small pointer, which is a core technology role. Later, I have just bucketed these roles across. I'll come to you guys. I'll tell you why I have done that. Uh, so even DevOps engineer is a very core technology role. You'll be more of a technology focused person. You will have to learn about new technologies, optimally doing it, new tools, new languages. Similarly, is for database. So now for database, MySQL, MongoDB, these become like, so if you want to do a NoSQL one, MongoDB, either of these two, if you want to make your CV strong for a database engineer, either of these working knowledge you need to have. Also within database engineers, one element comes in, which is big data. So that's where Hadoop or Spark come into play. Now, this is where you can't have a working knowledge, or you can't do a project on your local device, because Hadoop and all, these are very costly softwares. But you can do some small setup, look for some tools which will help you to do a virtual environment setup, maybe a student edition free of cost, and play around with it, if you want to build your profile. So now what is big data? So just imagine, organizations like the one which I'm in, the ad tech organizations. So within ad tech, you see an advertisement. When you see an advertisement, it is an impression, basically how many people saw that particular ad. Just imagine, there are websites like Times of India or any other top websites where you see ads. They have millions of users coming in daily, and one user is looking at an ad 3-4 times in a day. So just imagine the kind of data that you gather. It's like trillions of impressions or trillions of clicks, and you have to manage that data at a minute level. That okay, this click came in for from this particular geo, from this particular browser, from this particular device, and that's where all the optimization happens. Similarly would be a case with a Netflix. They track a user at that end. Okay, the user is from mobile device, user logs in at this particular time, user logged out at this particular time. There are 4 simultaneous users working, logging in into the same account. So I'm just trying to give you a visualization of so many different aspects the organizations are tracking, and that data then further the data science teams or machine learning teams are using to uh, find some insights out of that data. But before that, all that data needs to first get logged, and that needs to be saved into your database storages. And that's where and it also needs to be retrieved very fast, so that all your business logics can work. So that's where the database engineers come into play. uh, they deal with big data, they deal with a lot of data architecture at the back. They have to ensure that the database is which is a cost center, by the way, so it has to be very optimal and efficient. The next role is data analyst. Now, again, this is different from a database engineer. At the top, you would see that this is a technology into business role. This is not a very core technology role. But as a data analyst, maybe you will start with as a data analyst and eventually progress as a database engineer. So as a data analyst, you don't think about the backend architecture or the schema of a database. You have everything ready. There is data within that architecture databases. Your work will be to just retrieve that data and give it to the business teams or the sales teams or the product teams, or wherever that database is required, with some logic. For example, again, coming to an example of Netflix, if you get a requirement that okay, give me the top 10 web series which are viewed in the last 1 month. So then within database you would have okay, these are the web series. There could be an ID for every web series. and then for top 10 you will find out, okay, views, and then you will filter, put in an SQL query, for example, and find out, okay, these are the top 10. So as a data analyst, your role will be to just execute the queries or execute the stored procedures, if you guys have an idea about that, and just work on basic SQL and MongoDB queries. But the idea here is it is technology into business role. So that is where I'm differentiating these roles, that here you will also need to have some understanding of domain, or not to begin with, but eventually as a part of your role, you will have to deal with the business teams, you will have to deal with the product teams. They'll come to you, okay, we want this data. They'll explain to you, okay, this feature we are making, to power this feature we want this data. So if you understand the feature properly, why will that feature help the product, why will that feature be useful? If Netflix puts in top 10 web series to view, how will it help them, how will the users click it more, and overall how will it help Netflix in the business? But if you have an understanding of that, that will help you understand, when you know why are you doing something, that's what will you motivate you to, okay, that's how your queries, and when you pull in data from the databases, it will keep you motivated and it will give you a proper understanding of what you're doing. So this is another role of a data analyst. Then you come to a data scientist role. Now this is one step ahead of data analyst, that okay, uh, database engineer has created a schema, data is stored there. Data analyst has pulled out data from it with a logic and given it to a data scientist. Now data scientist role is also a creative role. It is technology plus business. They have to understand that, okay, what are the business implications of it, but they also have to creatively work around with that data. So within this data scientist role, you can use tools like pandas, numpy to find some insights out of the data. So coming to the same example, that okay, top 10 web series on Netflix. Now that feature is created, data analyst has given the data, and okay, top 10 web series are being placed on the homepage of Netflix. Now data scientists will come into play after 2 months, that okay, the top 10 web series are placed. Now let us see how many clicks have happened, how many users who clicked on that top 10 web series, post that, how long did they view that particular web series, did they come again and view that web series. So all that creative role they have to do. So why creative? Because it is a technology role. They need to know the tools to process the high very big data, like you need to have understanding of R, Python, or pandas. So these are all libraries in Python. So mostly at this point of time in the industry, wherever it is big data or data related things, Python as a language has a lot of libraries available, open libraries. So that becomes a very go-to language to get into and start playing around with data. So these data scientists are then expected to be very creative, wherein they have to then find some insights, go back to the product teams, tell them that, okay, this is the insight, that if a user clicks on the third story, then they look at they spend maybe 1 hour on Netflix app. So this is the insight that we have found. Based on that insights, then further business logics decisions are made across the applications, and something insightful is being done so that it overall helps the business metrics, be in terms of revenue or be in terms of whatever different metrics that could be there. The next role is machine learning engineer. Now, again, this is slightly different from data scientist. Data scientists just find out the insights from the data. Now, with those insights, what has to be done and how can you predict something happening in the future? So the insights are always on the past data. How can you go about, and with that past insights, how can you predict the future? That's where machine learning engineers come into play. So these are all the listed libraries which are within machine learning. Now, machine learning entails all the three buckets of roles. It is a core technology role, because whenever you create a machine learning model, you have to deploy it. It actually goes and sits on the production servers, and in real time, it's doing some work. So it is a very core technology role. It also entails a technology into business role. You have to have a fair understanding of how will it impact the business in terms of whatever metrics it could be. Do you want to drive more clicks? Do you want to increase the number of views or viewers, increase the revenue, or whatever could be the business model? And it is also a creative role. You have to creatively look at the data, make your own sense out of the model and create models. So whenever it is a creative role, it is about you have to experiment. uh, in first go you will never find the best result. You have to create a model, deploy it, maybe look at it for a month. It's not working, make some changes to it, again deploy it. So that's where the creative side of these roles come into play. Post that, this is the backend engineers. So any application that you're working, I think for every one of you, if you're beginning as a fresher, other than the data analyst, this is the role also that you should look at. Making your CV strong. This is where basic web applications that you can make, a login page or any simple HTML page, and how to do some backend scripting at the server side, and make those pages live. So you have different languages available or different web frameworks as well. Like within Python there is Django, within Java there is Spring Boot. If you're familiar with JavaScript, there's Node.js. So this is where I think you should start your this skill set as an engineer or as a software engineer. You should have, and post that, of course, you can build upon any other different role. So these guys, backend engineers, are the one who actually do the development at the server side of an application. Then the next is front end and UI engineer. So this is where everything happens on the client side, or client could be anything, a browser, for example. So whenever at the back end you code that, okay, there are top 10 movies, web series of Netflix. At the back end, you have to ensure that, okay, how do you send that as an HTTP response to the browser? Once it comes on the browser, how will it look on the browser? That's what the front end and UI engineers do. And this is also a core technology role, because you have to play around with the backend data. And on the front end, this is the touch point to the end user. So any application, web application, be it the web application or any native application, the front end guys are the ones. So everything is database, or your servers, DevOps, everything is happening at the back. But the actual user is interacting with your front end. So that is where the user experience come into play, the user journeys come into play. There are a lot of frameworks which are currently into the market. You have, for this role, you need to have a very good understanding of basics of HTML, CSS, and even plain vanilla JavaScript. And post that, over JS, there are frameworks like React, Angular, or even CSS frameworks like Bootstrap, Tailwind. So why am I listing all these? My point here is to stress upon the fact that if you will be targeting on these roles, either of these technologies or couple of these technologies you need to have within your CV. So now again, you cannot target all the roles and have everything in your CV. It's not possible. Even those working in the industry for 10 years don't know everything. So that you should not even attempt to do, but surely you should find your own niche. Okay, this is the role which will suit my personality, my aspirations, and that's where you should build your skill sets for the CV. The next one is native application engineer. Now, along with the web-based application, there are also native apps like iOS, Android. Even there's a Flutter, which deals with both. You can compile a Flutter application in both iOS and Android. So if you guys are interested in native applications, and you target an organization that, okay, these guys have native applications, they have roles for native applications, I can see it in the job description, I want to apply for it, then this is something that you should have in your CV. That's what will give you an edge. One more role is about QA engineers or software development engineers in test. This is also a very important role within an organization. So along with the developers, development team, and the other database, data science teams, QA teams are also part of either the technology teams or the product teams. They are the ones who ensure that the application is running as required, or they ensure that there's sanity or at the time of deployment or at any point of time. The quality of the application is maintained by these guys. So here also I've just mentioned a few tools, Selenium, JMeter, Postman. So within QA, there are two key buckets. Firstly is manual, and second is automation. So there'll be organizations who will be looking at roles of QA. Maybe they may not upfront tell you at the time of placements, but I've seen people then being placed within QA roles. Of course, post that they do go undergo training. But initially, if you guys would have an understanding that, okay, as a QA role, there's manual testing and there is automation testing. What is automation testing? Simple tool like Selenium, which can be coded through Java, is available for automation testing and widely used in the industry. So you can at least do some certification or a small course or have a knowledge about Selenium, put that in your CV. So your CV becomes eligible for QA roles as well. Looking at Selenium, if a company has come in for hiring for QA roles, they'll immediately, their attention will go on your CVs, and that's where you'll at least go past the first shortlist and get into the interviews or the other role for the process of the hiring. And the last one is UI UX designer. I'm seeing engineers also being into this role. Now this is not of a tech side role. This is more of a business and a lot of a creative role, wherein you design how the UI UX looks like. Basically, Netflix, for example, before even starting the development of Netflix, how the web page will look, you design that entire user experience. So the business teams or the product teams will just come to you with user stories or just requirements that, okay, I want this page wherein a user can sign up. I want a user can also choose between different programs, and I want that the user clicks, he gets knowledge of, okay, he can read a description about that program, and post that he can subscribe to that program. So this is a small kind of a description that these designers get. Based on that, considering the different brand aesthetics, okay, these are the brand colors, this is the brand logo, they design how the page will actually look. Even for this, they need to have some technology understanding, because once they design and it goes into front-end development, they would not want HTML guys coming and saying that, okay, this is difficult to code in HTML, or backend guys saying that, okay, database wise this is a very heavy page. You have put in so many elements within that. When we go into design that page, it will be a very heavy one. We can't maintain the performance of the page. So that is the reason these guys needs to have some understanding of the web technologies and maybe the whatever application that they're designing, but their key role will be on the creative side of it. And these are the tools, Figma or Photoshop, Adobe tools, which are used industry wide at this point of time. So now this is like a quick snapshot of all the 9 roles that I spoke about, and this is what I was talking about. These are the 3 buckets: core technology, then technology into business, and then creative. So why I have bucketed it into these 3 buckets is for you guys to know that, okay, firstly, where does has anyone asked any question? Okay. So this is for you guys to understand that, okay, what is your aspiration, or where does your personality fit? Are you a very core technology person, or are you even interested into slightly interacting with the business guys, understand that, okay, on the business aspects of it as well? Or are you a purely creative person, or you want creativity as well in your work? Based on these aspects, you guys need to define your target, that, okay, if I'm a very core technology guy, I just need to, these are my targets: DevOps engineer, database engineer, or all these roles which fall into the core technology roles. If I want interaction with the business teams, I want to know how the business works, or understand the user side of it, then these are the roles wherein I'll get to interact with the business teams or the product teams. If I'm very creative, I want creativity in my work, that's where you can go into these buckets and these roles which also fall into the creative side of it. So why am I stressing into this? Because this is all what the exercise that you need to do before building your CV. So I've seen that when you build your CV, it's not just about one pager wherein you put information or material. Firstly, you also need to build your profile, that okay, what information will I put on that one page? And before that, you need to then finalize that okay, the material that I'm going to put, uh, will it align to my interests? So what are my interests and what are the different roles? So this is the snapshot for you guys of all the roles within the industry. Go through, I'll share this PPT as well. You guys can go through it again, uh, based on your interests and your skill sets that you want to build. Finalize maybe 2 to 3 roles. Then within that, start building your skill sets, start learning about, reading about the tools, practicing those, and then eventually your CV will be built. So now here I'll go across. Maybe my points will be repetitive here, but what are the prerequisites before you start your CV? So this is what as an exercise you guys should do. Firstly, understand the technology roles in the industry, set your target. So the roles which I mentioned about before, uh, shortlist 2 to 3 roles as per your interests. Then start, prepare and build your profile for those roles. So start learning the frameworks, languages, start doing some projects, internships, courses, certifications, hackathons, only around those roles. So you cannot learn everything around within the industry. So this is a very vast field. You cannot do everything for all the 8-9 roles. No one in the industry can do it. Maybe people here with 20-30 years experience who are in the organizations as CTOs, they would have some understanding, but even they don't have all the understanding of all the roles. So if you see here the career T graph, breadth and depth. So this is the strategy that you guys need to follow when you're building your profile. That all these roles which I mentioned, of course, you need to have some understanding about everything, because never know what the company is hiring for. You might get placed and then you will be asked that okay, so you are being put into database role. That time you can't say that okay, I'm not interested in database or I have no idea about database. Surely you can and if you have some idea, it will help you to quickly grasp everything and get going into your work. So for that, follow the T principle, have some knowledge about all the roles, some basic understanding about everything, but shortlist 2 to 3 roles, and then within that, go into the depth. So when you go into the depth, if there are 2 frameworks, for example, backend development, uh, have your mastery or understanding for 2 languages, maybe Python and Java or Python and PHP. If you're doing front end, so even within that, don't just stick to one React, but along with React, understand maybe basic vanilla JavaScript as well, or even Angular for that matter. So diversify your skill sets, but keep 2 to 3 roles targeted. Uh, then thoroughly research about the organizations. So surely you'll be having a past understanding about which organizations come for your placements, the roles that they offer. Try to understand the roles that they offer. Based on that, within the list of 9 which I've shared, bucket out okay, these guys are offering database role, these guys are offering DevOps roles. Now I want to target this organization, so I need to have some points around DevOps or some points around database. Look at the past hiring patterns, look at the domain, some domain knowledge as well. So if there's a bank coming in, try to research about okay, what is the what are the architectures these banks are using. For banks, security is very important. But if there is any media organization like Netflix or Amazon coming, for them concurrent users is another thing. So for that, what are the technologies that they're using? So slightly when you get into the domain, that will help you guys to place yourself and to position your CVs such a way that it will be easy for the other guys to, for you guys to get visibility with the hiring managers. Then how to structure your CV. So as I mentioned before, I'm not going into the details of the designs. You guys are experts in that. You guys can very creatively do it. But yeah, I would suggest that as a part of a tech role, this is a sample CV that you can see. It's a very simple looking CV. Keep it simple. More than the creativity or look in the CV, it's more about the material which is there in the CV. And one thing, your CV always should be one pager. Of course, if you have a lot of material which can't fit into one page, then you can go maximum up to 2 pages. But still, I'll suggest that you should restrict it below within one page, because the hiring managers do not have time to look at 2 pages. Now, these are the top sections that you need to have within your CV. Firstly, your core introduction, uh, very basic, knowledge, personal information. No need to add any details. For the details, just name, contact info, address. That's it. Uh, Focus on your technology skills. You need to put the list of the tools, languages, frameworks that you have worked upon, the projects with the details of the projects, even the link out to the project. So I've seen, now it has become very easy that if you have worked on a simple web page, uh, you can host it somewhere. There are tools available in free of cost. You can host those. So do that, host those, put those links on your CV. It becomes very easy for then any hiring manager or anyone when he's shortlisting to just click on it, view at your work, and get a visual understanding of what you have worked upon, rather than only reading the description. When do put upon courses, these courses need not be only the paid courses. Even within your curriculum, you feel that, okay, for database, I want to project these three database related to RDBMS. You would have one of your subjects, or your subject could be around big data. So if you have courses around that, do mention about it. Do mention small description that, okay, what did you learn within that. Certifications, of course, are always an add-on, but again, link outs to the certification. So basically, certifications from authentic sources. Then I would say your extracurricular activities, hobbies, sports, a small section on it, but surely uh, you can place it. If you have extracurricular activities, hobbies, and sports, it presents the diversified personality that you have. But of course, that is something then you also have to present yourself that way in the interview as well. And the key achievements, at college level, even at the school level, if you have key achievements, firstly, if you're making a one page CV, you have to ensure that that page gets full. So even at the school level, if you have achievements like, at a district level you came first in your 10th standard, or you have scholarships, you do mention those achievements, because that's what gives an unfair understanding to someone looking at the CV, that there's a consistency in the academics, consistency in performance, and that is a positive point. Then these are some smart strategies to increase your visibility. Firstly, in today's time, you should have your LinkedIn profile, keep it updated. Uh, so all the details that I mentioned here, your projects, the courses, what you learned in the courses, certifications, even your technology skills, everything you can add within your LinkedIn. So whatever you are going to add within your CV, you can add within your LinkedIn. And that is a good practice to have, because at times when you apply, there are hiring managers who look at the LinkedIn. They are used to do that, and if your profile comes in, it's updated, that is a positive sign for them. Now this is something I want to put up to you guys, that you guys should create separate variations of your CVs for different roles. This is a very important point. I think the most important takeaway of this entire session that I want to put forward to you guys. Now, I mentioned about 3 to 4 roles, right? So now, for example, if you guys are targeting database engineer and a backend engineer and a front end engineer, so these 3 roles you are targeting, I would suggest you should have 3 different variations of CVs. So within the CV, when you're writing about technology skills, when you're writing about projects, when you're writing about your own courses, in your database CV, you should put all the database related points at the top. Even the courses, you should put about RDBMS or whatever database related subjects that you had. Within that, what did you learn? Very small snapshot of it that you can put at the top. So whenever an hiring manager is looking at that, see, usually the companies do know that they are hiring for database and for web. So there are two people involved. One is on the database side, another is at the web side. So the moment they see a CV which is like very much focused on database, immediately it catches their attention compared to the one which has uh, everything within that. So you have mentioned something about DevOps, something about cloud, something about front end, something about machine learning. So if your information is like so diversified, compared to that, if a CV comes which is like perfectly only on database, everything, and then going into depth of it, some you have understanding of big data, Hadoop, everything, that catches attention very quickly, and surely it will help you guys to go through the first short lists. So this is the key takeaway from this seminar. Create variations of your CVs. Maybe when you're creating a CV, create 3 CVs, one for database, one for this. Of course, within database, you also put your other aspects, basically your front end, back end aspects as well. But at the top, move yours. So it would be the same CV, just you're moving the priorities above and below. And so whenever a company comes and they say, okay, their JD talks about database, send the database one to them so that anyone looking at it catches the first attention towards your database skills. You can also create separate CVs for your various domains. So for banking, if you have done some certifications on, okay, how are the banking applications, what is their architecture, or something around banking architecture, or something around concurrent users for these media applications. So you can also create separate CVs for them. So depending, or if you have spoken to your seniors and you know that, okay, Oracle, they want these type of skill sets. Bank of America comes with, they always want these types of skill sets. So create separate CVs for Oracle, separate CV for Bank of America. It will be an effort at your end, but I would suggest it will be worth an effort. Then when you're doing this, of course, again, I've spoken about roles. One more important, don't just stick to one role. Keep yourself open. So target 2 to 3 roles. Build your skill sets, build your knowledge around 2 to 3 roles. Because end of the day, at the time of placements, it's also about the chance that you don't want to restrict yourself only to database. You never know how many companies will ask only for database. So keep your chance open. For that, you'll have to put efforts to gain in-depth knowledge in more than one roles, but I think that will be worth it. And build PowerPoints in your CV. So what are the PowerPoints? It is live projects with link outs. Anyone clicks, finds that application hosted, and I can do something that, okay, I can log in, or maybe I can just click on a button and a pop-up opens. I can enter some input field. I can save it. Then I can see my saved information. So when you do some live projects, and if you are able to put that in the CV, it helps the person to understand your knowledge. Even in your interview, you can give that, okay, this is the link, can you open that link, and you can discuss about that in the interview as well. Another PowerPoint is your internships. The another PowerPoint is your courses that you do, even within your academics. Focus on that as well. I'm not talking about the paid courses you do in Coursera. That is something extra. But even within your academics, put forward whatever courses. Of course, whatever you're mentioning in your CV, you need to be sure that you're well versed with everything, because the moment you mention that in your CV, you will get cross questions around that. And if you're not able to confidently tackle those questions, that will be a negative point. But if you are able to confidently tackle, that adds a brownie point to you, that, okay, you mentioned that as your knowledge or skill set, and you are confidently able to answer it. Some certifications and hackathons as well. So yeah, I'm coming to the last point. What are the do's and don'ts? A major don't mention any unnecessary personal information in your CV. Just your name, contact number, email address, and your address. That's it. You don't need to have any other information in your CV. Then I've seen some CVs which include photographs. Uh, Photographs is optional. I would suggest do not include your photographs. But if you do, your photograph needs to be professional. Within in a professional attire, in a professionally clicked photograph. A casual photograph will be a immediate negative, and your CV won't even get an eyeball. Don't mention technologies which you are not confident about. This is very important. We have seen that in our hiring rounds as a feedback coming in that, okay, students mention about AWS, GCP. Understand the fact that, the one who is taking your interview, he has been working on AWS at a scale, at an application wherein wherein the company is paying $50,000 to AWS. So imagine the scale and the complexity at which he is working on AWS, and he is working on AWS for last 15 to 20 years, for example. Be confident about whatever points you mentioned. Do include project certifications in your interview rounds. That will help you as a point of discussion, because your CV should reflect your knowledge. Also, it should give interviewers some points to discuss about. It should not be that, okay, सब skills डाला हुआ है, I've asked some questions, अभी और क्या. It should generate interest in the interviewer. Okay, this is a project that I worked upon. Now let me ask a few questions on that. So this is where you're bringing the interview into your domain, that, okay, I've worked on this project for 3 months. I can answer all the questions. So I want an interviewer to ask me questions on that. So you need to put it forward in your CV that way. Do not make your CV lengthy. Should be 1 page. I would strongly suggest restrict it to 1 page only. And mention the details, of your courses, projects. Don't just mention the name, because at times I've seen people do mention the title of the project. Reading the title, the interviewer or anyone looking at your CV for the first time will have no idea what it is about. But also don't go about describing it in as an essay. Just maybe 2 bullet points to describe it very precisely, so that one reading it understands, okay, what this project is about. And also putting in interest in, okay, now let me ask few more questions about that. So that is how you need to present your information in the CV. So yeah, this is what I had from my side. I hope I was able to add value to you guys, or pardon me if I was too fast or too slow. Any questions from your side? I'm open to questions. I wanted to make it as a dialogue, but yeah, with the number of people that you are, it would have pushed us aside. So if you guys have posted any questions, I can take those questions one by one, or you guys can ask me questions. So Sakshi, how do you want to take it?
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. The smart strategies that you provided were really eye-opening as a student too. So we already have a few questions in the chat box. We'll first address those and then we'll move forward with others. So Meenakshi Mishra has asked a question. Meenakshi, do you want to unmute or should I read out your question? Meenakshi Mishra, are you there? Okay, so her question was, Next.js would be nice, right, for dynamic web rendering?
Sorry?
Next.js would be nice, right, for dynamic web rendering?
Yeah, so see, for dynamic web rendering, Next.js is just one of the technologies, right? So, and it is a new technology. I would suggest that, don't go with the, new buzzwords always, because it happens in the technology industry. You guys being freshers, want to get into the industry. First, go into the basics. Next.js is of course good, but for that you first need to have a good command on vanilla JavaScript, just basic JavaScript. Post that, if you do research, you will understand React.js is something which is widely used in the industry. Next.js is just starting. Vue.js is something which is just beginning. All of these frameworks have all the features, for dynamic rendering, everything. But I would suggest you stick to those which are very popular. Start with that, because understand one thing, companies are not very open to imitate, because these companies which are running for 20, 25, 30 years, they have legacy codes. They immediately don't dare change their technologies, even if new technologies come. So that's why Next.js is good. But yeah, I would suggest that you should look at some older or popular frameworks.
So we have one more question from Meenakshi Mishra. So what would be better, Django Python based or Merge stack development as a beginner?
So see, I think as a beginner, if you're just starting and if you Python is something that you are looking at for your as your core language, in term, and if you are looking at data science or machine learning, if your core focus is on that side, then to build your web development skills as well along with that, you can go for Django, because that will make it easy for your web development journey. But if your focus is only on web development and you don't really want to get into data science and that, and first want to focus on web development only, which is a core technology skill, by the way, in that case, stick to Merge. So if you are okay to go away from Python, and so I think I would again suggest that if you want to do more web development, don't go into Python, because Python is more of for data science and that side. And if you want to stick to data science and Python, then as an additional skill, go to Django.
Okay, so we have a lot of participants from the first year, and they are very keen to know how should we start building our resume during the first year itself. So what are some tips and tricks, or what path should the first yearites follow?
So I think, as a first year, firstly, focus on your academics as well. So I think first years would not have computer science topics as well, right? They'll have more of a engineering subjects as of now. So in that case, you pick up from basics. Like, I think if you're, for everyone here, the basics would be start with web development. And for web, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Even in your first year, if you are able to build your understanding and your expertise in these three, everything else will follow, because JavaScript can then further be used in Node.js for your backend development. So for first years, when you're starting as a basics, stick to web development. And if you can slightly get into database SQL, but I would still suggest just stick to these and build your mastery on the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And apart from that, just focus on your academics.
Okay, so we have a question from Tanisha Bomkar. She's asking, as a beginner, which coding language you should start with, Java or Python, and also what is the major difference between those two?
Okay, so see, so I think you would be having C plus in your academics as well, right? So other than that, if you are starting with Java and Python, both are used completely differently in the industry. So if you look at the banks which have legacy systems, be it JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Barclays, everyone, they have their legacy systems in Java. So again, this comes into the fact that which organizations you're targeting and which roles you're targeting. I would suggest that you should start with Java, because that's where Python is post Java. Python is very easy to grasp, but if you learn Python before, then it will become difficult for you to grasp any other language, because Python code is very straightforward to read. So I would suggest go with Java if you want to go into these legacy systems in these banks and other organizations. Master your Java. Post that, if you have an interest to go into data science and data machine learning, then of course you will also have to pick Python. But Java first and next Python will be easy. Python first and next Java will be difficult.
The next question is from Arya Gharat. So basically, we are noticing there is a lot of trend where students opt for masters after their BTech. So our question is basically, is BTech enough, or we should opt for masters to get better job opportunities? And is abroad better than our own country for future studies and as jobs are concerned?
Okay, yeah. So this is a nice question, because I'm seeing that there is a lot of trend people going abroad. or rather I would say there was a trend. As of now, it has slightly slowed down. So one thing, based on, I have a lot of my ex-colleagues, even our current colleagues are there in US and Europe. Even my friends are there in US and Europe. Uh, Within US and Europe, whatever was the state 10 years back, it is not the case now. It has also saturated there as well. So the competition in US is equivalent to the competition that you have in India. So if you have a reason to go to US other than just escaping the competition in India, I would strongly suggest don't do that, because the struggle and the competition is same there as you will have here. In terms of opportunities, yes, slightly you have better opportunity there, because the companies like the tech giants like Amazon, Twitter, Facebook, they do have bigger offices and more workforce there. But apart from that, a lot of these organizations also have offices in India now. And India being the technology hub now, you would have known Amazon is opening up. Google has his offices in Pune. Amazon has an office which is coming up in Pune and in Mumbai. So they are having technology hubs in India. So if you want to be in a core tech job, I don't see there's a difference between being in India and US. Uh, but yeah, post BTech, if you have another reason to go to US in terms of exposure to foreign countries, exposure working with the foreign nationals, if that is also your reason, then you opt for that. Otherwise, as a job prospect, competition is same. You'll have to go through the same level of competition, and the opportunity would be same either here or there. I would say rather here you'll have better opportunity in terms of your technology roles that you'll play, because most of the R&D happens here in India. Okay, so see, if you want to build a strong base, I would say first learn C++, because that is C++ is also one of the, so don't see that C++ does not have any job prospects. Even these banks in itself, JP Morgan or these banks, they do have a lot of legacy systems working in C++ as well. So if you want to build a base, it is also C++ is also part of your curriculum. Build it, because that is the fastest language, because it's actually integrated with the OS. And on the top of that, later you can catch up with Java. I would still suggest that be it C++, Java, Ruby on Rails, PHP, or Python, you should have a good understanding of at least two of these languages. Don't stick to only one language. Take up two languages at least. Don't aim कि मेरे को हर एक language करना है. That's not possible. But target for two languages. Even within those two languages, then there will be popular frameworks. Within Java, there is Spring Boot. So within Python, as there is Django. Even pick those frameworks and get it done. So before your fourth year, before you are out there for your placements, you should have two languages and two frameworks thoroughly done at your end. That will help increase your job prospects.
Another question is from Shalini. So if we want to do something in hacking, then where can we start, and what are some hacking courses that can add value to my resume?
Okay. So hacking is more of an ethical hacking. There are courses available on Udemy and Coursera as well. But I would say that as a hacking, it mostly comes into the roles which I explained to you, the DevOps engineers, and within that they have a specialized field of security. So hacking comes into that. It is a good skill to have, but in terms of direct roles available with the organizations, I'm not sure about the overall scope. It's not that the roles may not be there. In my experience, I'm not sure about what are the roles available, but there are roles of security engineers available with the top tech giants as well. That is where I think the hacking knowledge will come into play. But other than that, I'm not sure about the overall scope. So you can go through these Udemy and Coursera courses. But surely before that, I would suggest you first focus on your core languages and some core frameworks. Increase your breadth of knowledge in database front end. So try to become a full stack engineer. I think I forgot mentioning about what is a full stack engineer. Someone who can handle back end and front end both. So try to first increase the breadth of your knowledge across these roles. Then try to increase the depth in 2 to 3 roles. Then you can go to these fields like hacking and the other maybe AI or other aspects which are chat GPT, those which are available in the market.
So the next question is, there are a lot of courses or free courses that are provided by a lot of websites like Udemy, Coursera, Coding Ninja. So which actually add authentic value to a resume or a CV? So which one should we actually go for?
No, so see, I think these all that you mentioned, these are popular ones, especially Udemy, Coursera, these are popular ones. Don't I would suggest, I've seen students spending money, a lot of it, like there are courses for which they charge more than 10,000. I would strongly say that is not required. Why? Because you are already doing a degree in computer science or in IT, or a 4-year course you're already doing. So these other courses that you do are just an add-ons. They are not your primary courses. So something which is not very costly, that you can opt for. Idea is not to prove the authenticity of that. Udemy, Coursera are authentic. Of course, something which no one would know the name of. I don't think a hiring manager looks at the authenticity, of course, but the hiring manager will look at, okay, you have mentioned about big data and Hadoop. Then he'll go and ask you a few questions on Hadoop. If you are able to confidently answer those, that's what matters, rather than the authenticity of the courses. So I would strongly suggest, don't spend a lot of money into it. Something which is like around 500 or 1000 or maximum 2000, you can take those courses. But those very costly courses you don't need to take, because you're already doing a 4-year course. You need to keep that in mind.
Okay, so the next question is, what is mainly expected from an intern during the interview? So basically, third years are going through an internship drive this month and the next month. So what is expected out of an intern when we sit for an interview or a coding round?
Okay. So see, for an intern, firstly, when a company comes, they have a very clear goal that, okay, I'm looking for someone who will be a part of our team, maybe for a month, 2 months, or maximum 3 months. So I'm not sure what is the duration of internships that are offered in your college, but mostly it is maximum for 3 months, or maybe along with the work, if college, if they approve for you to work remotely, it could be 5-6 months. So that is still a very short period of time for you to grasp the system, because even if you're good with any Python or any framework, when you go in an organization, it is all within an organization, everything is customized for their needs, and it's been done for last 15-20 years. So anyways, you have to go and grasp what they have done, their current systems, and do it. So, or as an intern, you will be given a independent project, something that you can work independently, but then it can then integrate into their life, and that's when you will add value to them or do some research. So for that, what is expected is you have a fair understanding of at least 1 or 2 technologies. So for example, I'll give you a very quick example of how the internship worked at our organization. So we wanted to do some research on JavaScript. So there was a product coming in wherein a JavaScript sits on other websites. It does some tracking, and based on that, it does some data logging, and we create reports out of it. Now there was a research required. So that's where we pulled in interns and asked them that, okay, this is what you need to do. You create a sample page, web page, HTML page. You place a JavaScript on that. We will ask you that, okay, through that JavaScript, you have to automatically identify these few things on the page, and then report it on a report, or just save that within a database. Or there's a database endpoint, you just have to API endpoint, you have to post that data within an API. So now understand, this adds value to a firm, because whatever R&D one resource within a firm would have done, we are just getting that done from an intern. So that's a value add for the organization. But for that, the intern needs to have a good understanding of JavaScript. So for an intern, not 2 to 3 skills, but at least one skill you should have a good mastery about. That's where they'll see a value in you. Okay, you can come in and help them in some tasks within the small duration of 2 to 3 months, and that also independently.
So adding more to it, how should we actually grow our LinkedIn profile? Because when you're applying for internships or off-campus placements, so LinkedIn plays a very important role. So how we
Yes.
should start building it, and what are the important things that should be posted on LinkedIn?
See, so firstly, update your profile. It's not that you guys always need to keep on posting on LinkedIn. Uh, Firstly, update your LinkedIn. Maybe, so I see that limitation that students they do not update their current. So they'll always update a course that they do on Udemy, but they'll never update a course that they do in their academics. I don't understand why. So that is something you should add, because you are spending on that course maybe 3 or 6 months you are putting in as a part of our academics. You're learning the depths of it, and if you are confident about it, you should add those. Ki, these are the courses that I have done. Uh, so within LinkedIn, also make a practice to update your CV, update your LinkedIn profiles, add the courses that keep on adding. Okay, this semester, these courses I did, what exactly you did within that, so that your profile looks filled up. Keep on updating your projects and whatever certification that you do. And even within LinkedIn, when you make contacts, so whatever anyone is sharing as a part of knowledge, it will help keep a track on it, keep on reading it, and also you can keep on reacting to it, give a comment or a like. You don't need to actively post anything. That's not required. Rather spend time in reading stuff and making your knowledge better. Read about these skills, but yeah, keep your LinkedIn profile updated. That's what matters. With a proper photograph. So again, the photos that you put on LinkedIn, keep it professional. uh, that's it. You don't need to post anything as of. So someone who will see on your LinkedIn profile should understand that, okay, whatever you're sharing on your CV, the same thing is also on your LinkedIn profile. That's the key thing.
Okay, Kannak seems to have interest in neurotechnology. So what is the eligibility criteria and how we can tailor our CV accordingly for
uh,
neurotechnology?
on Eurotechnology.
Neurotechnology.
Acha, neural networks, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. See, neural networks, that is, I think, even the second step of machine learning. There are libraries available, scikit-learn or TensorFlow, wherein you can create a deep learning libraries are available. Uh, but that is something I think you can take up, or you should take up, once you're very good with the basics. So firstly, you're good with Python, you're good with Python programming in general, uh, within that, and all the functions and everything within Python. Then you can slightly grow your Python skills by slightly getting into Django or development side of it. Then get into the data science aspects of it, pandas, NumPy. Because see, the moment you get into machine learning, your statistics knowledge also needs to be good. So Python is just one part of your basics that you can build. Post that, you have to go and read about statistics. I'm not sure about your academics, but you might have some electives and subjects within that, which will help you understand the mathematics behind it. So data science, machine learning, neural networks, it has mathematics, it has statistics. After you have all that knowledge, post that, and you have understanding of Python, post that, applying everything for neural networks, building a neural network, building a deep learning engine. You have a lot of libraries, within TensorFlow, just 3 lines of code and you have a model ready, neural. So that is not a very big deal. So for that, your main background understanding is about Python and about statistics and mathematics. So make that stronger. Post that, coding that and applying that knowledge is not a very difficult thing in today's time. There are libraries available. You don't have to write even a 10-line code, just 3 lines of code and you're done. But to write that code, you have to have a mathematical and statistics background that you need to make stronger.
Okay, so Mishra has another question. Are non-SQL frameworks like MongoDB worth learning, or rather stick with SQL-dependent frameworks like MySQL, Postgres, etc. for large-scale companies?
So see, most of the large scale companies which are, which still have their older codes available working, uh, their SQL plays an important role even now. MongoDB or NoSQL frameworks have come recently. They are being used and they have their own use case. So both of these have their own business applications. At few places SQL is important, plays an efficient role. Few places MongoDB. But for you guys, I would suggest that start with SQL, understand the relational databases, understand how the database tables work, how you join the tables, what are the different aspects of it. That is what will help you understand database in basic, and then go into MongoDB. Don't go into MongoDB as your first step. Always start with SQL, and then as a second step, go into NoSQL.
Okay, so a lot of students are asking how should I develop my soft skills, and if I have any leadership roles in my academics or my career, how I should, make them relevant in my resume.
Okay. So, see, soft skills in today's time for engineers are very important. I spoke about two organizations, two types of service-based organizations. It's important because you have to deal with the clients. They'll come and tell you some requirements. Uh, at times, you will have to talk to the clients who are sitting in US. So that's where the communication gap. If there's a communication gap, it will become difficult for you to understand what exactly they want, and so your communication skills have to be very good. At least start building it. Start talking amongst each other, or start participating in some communication events that you might have, some essay writing, or I'm not sure what events you would be having in your college, but surely start openly building your personality. And in terms of any roles that you currently are holding within your extracurricular activities, or some leadership roles that you are taking up in your colleges, that adds as a strong point. But surely it adds as a strong point in your CV only if you are also able to show that in your interview. If you are putting in that, okay, I worked at this role in my student council, this role, but if it doesn't reflect in your personality, the way you talk, it will not add value. But even if you don't have those points, but the way you talk, you're very confident, and that confidence will come through knowledge to begin with. If you have good knowledge, good understanding of your data code or your languages, surely the confidence will come. So everything is around confidence. And if you have these extracurricular activities, surely you should put that in your CV. Put those leadership values. I would suggest always uh, put the exact action points, that did you do, or what change did you bring about, because that adds value. That I have been the head of the student council is just a point, but being the head of the student council, I made this change. Initially, this particular event was not there. This is the event that we launched, or this event was just happening in Mumbai. We created this event and we had participants across India. So these points add value rather than just being a part of that council.
Okay, so the next question is, there is a no code movement started abroad. Will it affect India anytime soon? And also, many companies are trying to switch to no code to get better grasp of the functionalities of their own website. So it is really something that we should look forward to. I think she is trying to mention WordPress and Wix like tools that are available.
No, see, even WordPress is not completely no code. Okay? In my past organizations, like especially in Z or in Times of India, the entirely it is in WordPress, but still we had 20 to 25 WordPress engineers within it. So nothing is no code, okay? Because nothing as a no code solution comes exactly with the requirements that we have. The business teams, product teams, they always have custom requirements. That's how business works. To make the customizations, there's always a change that needs to be made in the code. So never think that the code and engineers will be redundant. It will never happen, because Because if everyone starts using the same no-code platform, there'll be no distinguishing. The moment that no-code thing happens, there is always someone who comes with some differentiation and he gets the edge. And that differentiation comes with customizations. The moment he does it, his competitors also decide that, okay, we also have to customize now to follow the competition, and to do the customization, the changes in the codes do come in.
Adding to the same, Meenakshi wants to know more about Editor X, Supernova, and other tools that are coming out there. So, how will they affect the companies?
Editor X, I'm not sure. Is it something like WordPress?
I am not sure. Meenakshi, can you please clarify? You can unmute yourself.
Okay, I can't hear if anyone is talking.
No, I'm actually waiting for a reply.
Okay.
Meenakshi can, okay. It's just a creation platform, but like completely enhanced than Wix or WordPress.
Okay. So see, even there are things like, okay, Chat GPT has come or AI has come. Everything happens automatically. It doesn't work that way. Even Editor X, and I would say that you don't go into all these. Currently, you guys are in your college. Focus on the basics. These tools are just add-ons. End of the day, behind these tools, there is coding which goes. There is a business logic or which goes into it, and these tools are such that no one can use for their business, as I mentioned before, the way it is. Everyone has to customize, and the moment customization comes, the changes in the code comes. So if you guys are thinking that, okay, with these tools will the engineers become redundant, that will never happen. And as of now, I would say just don't even focus on these. So basically, WordPress, for example. So WordPress, the backend for WordPress is in PHP. So if you guys know PHP, you can pick up WordPress any point of time. So I would say don't focus on WordPress, but focus rather on PHP if you want to look at into that field. So just go into the basics, focus on the programming languages, the basic frameworks or the core frameworks. Don't go into these tools as of now. Even the companies are using it. I don't think they'll be asking you about those in the interviews. They'll be expecting core knowledge, because the one who has core knowledge in PHP, they'll know that he can pick up for WordPress within 2 to 3 months.
Adding more to the tools that are an add-on, do you really think that AI can replace jobs?
No. So see, if AI will not replace jobs. See, so even to run the AI, there'll be new jobs created. Okay, so that will not happen. AI may replace to some extent very manual core operational jobs. It will not affect engineering jobs for you guys. Be it very clear to you guys. Even we internally, so I'll tell you about my experience, that we are also building an AI tool, which helps the organizations for them to automate their operations. So for sure, it doesn't, for someone, a company in US, if they have 20-member team in their operations team, with our tool, they can do the same work with 10 members team. Surely there it does impact the jobs. But what happens? These companies, what they think is, they already have a 20-member team. Now, if they use our AI tool, they can rather work with the capacity of the 30-member team. Why would they reduce 10 members and use our tool and then still remain on 20? Rather than that, with our tool, they'll now say, okay, now we have 30-member team, let's increase our business. So that is what is happening when AI is adding more virtual team members by automating few tasks. Companies are looking at that opportunity by adding more adding more virtual team members to their team. And so today, if they have a target of maybe, we just are serving these 2 markets, with AI tools in play, they put a target that, okay, now we have an AI tool, which is like an additional virtual team member, will target 3 markets. So it is being used to scale up.
Okay, so the next question is, what is the difference between a CV and a resume?
No, so it is one and the same, just 2 different terminologies. depends on what anyone calls it, but as far as my understanding, it's one and the same thing.
Ojal has a question: which is better, Java or Kotlin for Android development? Also, there is a trend regarding Flutter. So, when I say I want to become an app developer, what is the actual path I should follow?
So see, Flutter is something. So basically, I'll go in first within Java and Kotlin. I would suggest that you can stick to Java. So that's what increases your breadth of knowledge, wherein you can target to native application. Plus, if you would want to switch back to web development or other backend programming, Java helps you there as well. So always when you build your skill sets, look at that aspect, that okay, I am targeting native application, but along with that, if it is something, if it keeps other option open to me, I would surely keep that, because just for the safety of your career, that okay, at any point of time you can switch back. Now coming to Flutter, yes, Flutter is picking up, and it is helping organizations. So even in my previous organizations, initially, I'll tell you a use case wherein an app was being maintained in both iOS and Android. So we had a team members, like iOS team was different, Android team was different. So I think there were 8 team members working on one app, 4 for iOS, 4 for Android. The moment Flutter came in and we migrated, so for an organization point of view, it just with 4 team members we can manage both now. So you guys need to have that understanding that okay, if a new technology is coming in, try to understand. Maybe you talk in the industry with the people who are there in the industry, you talk to your seniors, that why that Flutter is picking up. For an organization now with just 4 members, we can maintain everything, so we don't need the other 4 members. So with half the team we can maintain the application, because within Flutter you can write one code and it compiles in both iOS and Android both. So yes, Flutter is picking up, so you should learn about Flutter as well. But there are some legacy codes happening. If you go to some so when you go into job market now, you will always see that there are few companies who have migrated to these new frameworks, but there will be older legacy organizations, bigger organizations, who would still work with legacy. So if you just pick up Flutter and don't pick up Android, you will lose a job opportunity with the other organization. So I'm not sure, but maybe Netflix might still not have migrated to Flutter. So you will not have any opportunity with Flutter to Netflix. But a new organization which has come in, Spotify, they might have Flutter. So you have to think smartly. Pick either Android, don't go into iOS, keep Android, and then go to Flutter as well, because Flutter opens up iOS automatically for you.
Okay, so Meenakshi has another question. Core understanding behind the networking and Chrome development tools is important, but like there are some other things like memory and cache lookouts in Chrome development tools for good but worth it project, or is it something that we might eventually learn with experience?
So I think in Chrome development, firstly, network is important. If you guys are doing JavaScript, for front end, any intelligent, JavaScript is important. And even the memory and all, I think that is still basic. If you do any JavaScript project, wherein through the browser cache, if you pull something, that's important for the performance of the application. So you begin with the network. As I again said that, if you are picking JavaScript as your core language, your core competency, you have to go in depth into it. So if you are able to get to that point of using the local memory cache or the other aspects of dev tools and understand that, surely it will help you. But you have to have a path. You don't go to the advanced part of it as a first step, then you will get stuck. Always start with the simple side and then eventually progress to the advanced side.
Question is that are there any platform specific technologies still working in legacy environments and companies? Like for iOS, are there still many out there working off Swift rather than platform independent languages?
Yes, there are. Well, surely, not everyone has migrated in. See, because for an organization, it's not very easy to migrate. Firstly, you have a team setup. There's a team of iOS developers, team of Android developers. they don't have mostly it happens that the team itself is asked that, okay, now you guys need to first develop a capability of Flutter. You have to learn Flutter. So they have given a time span of 6-7 months or a year to learn Flutter. Then an application is already working at scale. For Netflix, for example, there's so many downloads already there. Now switching backend completely is also a risk, because even a day your application is down, it is a huge loss, millions of dollars of loss. So not everyone prefers going to these new technologies very easily. There are big applications which are first learn the basics, then go with the buzzwords, because when you go in the job market, you will realize that maybe 80% of the tech companies are still using legacy things, or rather the basic frameworks or basic languages, and then you will lose out opportunity in those organizations.
Okay, so the next question is, what are the job roles for AI related domain, and what are the basics that I should know?
Okay, so see, for AI, even ChatGPT at this point of time is a buzzword. Okay. Other than that, what is AI? AI is anything which is a complex logic or any task which you automate. So especially for AI, we have seen anything around database, especially using Python. Whatever data insights that you can find out. So firstly, you guys need to be clear what is AI. In anything which is done automatically by a machine is an AI. Even if a machine does, you give two inputs, A and B, 2 and 3, and if it adds those to 5, that's also an AI in very simple terms. So machine learning and AI is different. AI is just a buzzword used in the industry, but mainly it is the core logic. So have a strong command on any programming language, so that any logic is given to you. You would have seen some I think there are some problems within the coding industry around, you have to find a number, add a few numbers, or find that element. You do those programs. If you're able to add any logic or create any algorithm, that in itself is an AI.
Okay, so we know that you're a graduate from IIM. So I wanted to know how you began your journey from shifting engineering to MBA.
Okay. So yeah, that journey began after got good results in CAT. Nothing more in that. But yeah, I think post that, after the graduation, after post graduation from IIM, I got an opportunity to directly work on the digital platforms. So initially, of course, I had no hands-on experience on the tech, so it took me time to pick up. But I think so my approach was on the so because of being from IIM, I got opportunity first to look at the business side of it, or the user end of it. From there, I took an approach to get into the tech and understand tech. For you guys, if you guys, many of you guys, after your engineering, if you decide to take up your jobs or placements, you guys can have another approach. First, understand tech. Eventually, I would suggest that, or rather I would advise you guys to generate interest. Whatever you're building, try to understand why are you building that, how is the company getting advantage of it. When I build a small feature for any application which I'm working on, how is it helping the users, how is it helping the business, and then eventually you can also move into the business roles. There are roles like analysts, product specialists, or you can move into the other leadership business roles.
As someone who's a student from ENC, how I should grow my scope in the field?
In the digital or the
ENC,
computer
electronics
science.
and telecommunication.
Yeah. So see, for that, of course, as an ENC, if you want to target this field of computer science and IT, you will have to have basic knowledge of this. It may not be a part of your curriculum, but along with that, side by side, if you have an interest in this field, uh, keep on building your basics. The way I said, maybe one programming language, target one or two roles. That is something that you have to do. If you don't have a part of your it as a part of your curriculum, side by side you will have to put in efforts to build your profile. But yeah, that is something you have to do because you're competing with those in the computer science and who are already doing it as a part of their academics. So that is the minimum extra effort that you have to put. There are courses available. Go do courses in Udemy. You don't have academic courses, but you have these outside courses. I think, more than that, there are so many free YouTube channels available. I would strongly suggest go on that. There are videos, 12 hours, 13 hours long videos. Pick one course of YouTube, free YouTube channel. Pick a 12, 13-hour video, divide it into maybe half an hour sessions. Do it in 20 to 25 days or a month. And side by side, on your own platform, on your own laptop, on local, do everything. Like whatever you read, don't just read. This field is all about actually coding yourself, and you'll have a hands-on understanding of everything.
Okay, so the next question is, as a fresher, should I focus more on applying for a startup, getting a job in a startup or an MNC? And further, should I apply for product-based companies or service-based companies, to basically enhance my learning graph?
Okay, so see, firstly, either a startup or an MNC, that is not a choice to be. I think wherever you get an opportunity, firstly grab that opportunity. Don't keep that bias in your mind. Like both have their positives and negatives. So and as a fresher, I would suggest, I would like, of course, MNC is also something that will give you a base. It will give you training, but of course there will be formal trainings. Then you will go either the client location. So your learning will be slow, but it will be stable. You will pick up one field, and they'll give you formal trainings. In a startup, it will be very kind of a dynamic environment. That is where it will be more of a push from your side. If you go in a startup, it will be your own desire that will help you to grow. In a MNC, even if you are slightly someone who do not communicate much, if you are someone kind of an introvert, still you will get those opportunities, those formal learning or training sessions, then you can pick up. In a startup, it will be, you will have to push things. You will have to talk to your managers, to your team members. I want to do this, I want to do that. So it depends on what personality you are. If you're that kind of a personality, you can push yourself, talk to people, you're an extrovert, and you have a desire to do things, then in a startup, you will have a very quick learning graph. Within a year, within a startup, you will pick up things so much that will take you maybe 2 to 3 years in an MNC. And of course, when you begin your career as a fresher, you don't have the other liabilities or other responsibilities of your so then you can take a chance and go in a startup. It will help your learning ability. What was your next question?
Is knowledge about logical reasoning verb? Next question in that same.
Yeah.
So basically, should I apply for product-based companies or
Yes.
service-based companies?
See, in terms of your learning, in terms of your career graph as well, product-based companies take slightly edge over the over the service-based companies. But of course, service-based companies help you to get the breadth of the things. Within that, in 6 months you can be in a bank working on the front end. Next 6 months you can be in any other SaaS-based organization working on the back end. Then you can be in a QA. The roles keep on changing as well. You can do that. So in a service-based company, you can help you identify, okay, what fits well. And then post that in a product-based company, you can then get into it and grow within a domain. So product-based company will help you to increase your domain knowledge. And service-based company will help you to increase your breadth of knowledge. So that the two are very different. So depends on what opportunity you get. But of course, later stage you can get into product-based company because it helps in your career graph better compared to the service-based companies.
The next question is knowledge about logical reasoning, verbal reasoning, etc. important for a tech job?
No. So, verbal reasoning and all those which are there as a part of aptitude, I think they're important only for you guys to crack the aptitude tests. If they're a part of because I think aptitude tests are a part of a lot of organizations hiring process. Other than that, I think those reasonings help because it makes your brain, it helps you to create that thought process. Because when you come into a tech role, you will face a lot of these challenges that, okay, as a logic, I want this to happen as a part of my new feature. So these things, if your brain is trained for that, it's not about knowledge, but it's about practice. And if you are used to that, okay, anything comes, I'll somehow find a logic around it and solve that problem. It will surely help you in long term as well in your career. But directly, it has no thing. I think you, rather than that, you can practice algorithms, data structures directly within the codes uh, on some platforms like I think HackerRank or anything that will help you more.
Okay, so do we have to take up an MBA degree for getting into business related jobs after engineering degree? It is.
No, it's not necessary. So within my team itself, I have people who have done engineering, and within 3-4 years, they have switched into the analyst role, and then through analyst, they eventually end up being into the business role as well. So it's not necessary. Just that I think you have to spend maybe 2-3 more years more. After 5 to 6 years, if you put in efforts and understand the domain so well, then you will get an opportunity to get into the business roles. Otherwise, of course, MBA becomes a easy route because within 2 years you can then switch to a business role.
Okay, so next question is from Arya. To get a job as a software engineer at Google or elite companies, what should be my preparation since acceptance is hard and layoffs are happening?
No, so see, I think don't think about layoffs as of now. Layoffs are not happening. There has been cases of layoffs because there has been cases of overhiring. But as such, all the important positions within the company, all those who are contributing to critical application modules, there's no layoff in that. So don't think on the layoff side as of now for you guys. Secondly, to get into these companies, or to any tech, I think data structures and algorithms is a very important aspect. So for you guys, you should have your basics clear about it. So any algorithm or any question asked in interview, at least as a pseudo code, you should be able to present the logic. So no one in interview will ask you exact code, exact syntax. No one is interested in that. Even those who are coding for 10 years, they have to take help of Stack Overflow or any online tools to, or even their IDEs to write the syntax. It's more about the logic, how you can solve a problem by applying a logic. So make your data structures and algorithms very strong, be it in any language if you can apply, be it in Python or Java. But yeah, I think as a core logic, study that subject. You would have that as a part of your academics as well. That will help you guys to crack those interviews.
Okay, so the next question is, are there any platforms or websites or connection platforms that are available so that I can target applying in a startup? Any platforms or any recruiters that I can directly connect with?
See, I think for startups, you do your research, and whenever you're applying, every startup, every company has their own careers page. So rather than and secondly, LinkedIn in itself is a very effective platform. So on LinkedIn, if you go on those pages, there will be apply to a job. Uh, just use LinkedIn. Don't so see what has happened in this industry now is there are everyone every now and then comes with a new platform, everything new, some new. Don't go with the buzz. Don't go with new. Stick to one basic thing. Maybe LinkedIn is something you can use that. All the hiring managers, HR are active on LinkedIn now. It is important, imperative for any company to be active on LinkedIn, or go on that company's website directly. There is always a careers page and apply on that. So, or there would be a contact HR email ID, general HR email ID. You can directly even email to that HR ID, or on LinkedIn you can find the exact HR person there. Message, connect to that HR person, message to them that I'm interested in this role, or I'm open to any roles at your organization. So you have to actively take up some of these actions, and either of it will crack at your end. But you have to keep on exploring. So just use LinkedIn and their professional or official websites. That's more than enough.
Okay, so shall I put Garuda Linux as a beginner with Linux, as I've heard Linux is very nice baseline in terms of software development. What is the roadmap of the things I should look out for in the future for sticking with Linux?
No, so see, Linux is currently, you can stick to Linux. Mostly it is Linux is still used across the organizations in the technology teams. Even we have in our teams guys using Macs, but within that they don't have iOS, but they have Mac OS, but they have Linux installed on their MacBooks. So Linux is not going anywhere. Why? Because all the servers, all the infrastructure is still in Linux. So you just need to begin with having understanding of basic Linux commands, grep commands and all these commands. Start understanding that, uh, and so maybe even if you can, I'm not sure of any uh, application which will create a virtual Linux machine for you where you can run those Linux codes. If you can find any application, there are a lot of such companies which are there now, and practice Linux at your end. Linux is not nowhere going anywhere as of now, which I see.
Okay, this is the last question for tonight.
Mhm.
What framework do we start if we want to pursue a job in UI UX designer? What to start with as a beginner?
Okay, so see, for UI UX designer, firstly understand the process of designing. That is where it is a very creative process, creative role. So see, wherever it is core technology, there it comes frameworks. Everything is very guided. That okay, I write this syntax, I write this code, this will happen as an output. But wherever it is a creative role, there is no syntax, there is no fixed output. So UI UX designer has a design thinking process. So there is a steps of process that you follow where you have to do these things to find out, okay, these are the different options that you create. So it is more about thought process. So you can go into, I think there are some nano degrees available on Coursera, uh, even on Udemy around UI UX, which will give you idea about different steps of design thinking. Then you need to understand what are the UI UX principles. So UI UX sits mostly with the front end, HTML, CSS, and even in the application side, iOS, Android front end. So you need to have an understanding of on the front end how the JS does. So if I create an element in the design, uh, how it will be implemented by the. So you don't need to have a very core code level understanding, but at least some feasibility understanding is required. Then you need to have understanding of some tools like Figma or Photoshop, where you can create wireframes. So within wireframes also there's a process to it. So low fidelity wireframes. So what do you mean by low fidelity wireframes? So usually, to give you a brief, first a low fidelity wireframe is created, then you talk to the stakeholders that okay, this is how it is. Then you get an approval, then you create an actual wireframe. Again, you talk to the stakeholders. Then post that you put design elements into it, colors, buttons, shadows into it. Then you talk to the stakeholders. So this entire process you need to understand. So within UI UX, the process in itself is a framework. So that I'm not sure if you would have in your academic curriculum. Then you need to do some outside courses, watch some videos on YouTube. There are free courses available on YouTube as well. So make your knowledge strong more than on paper certifications.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. Due to time constraint, we could not address all of them. But I'm sure everyone has a clearer idea about how to go forward with their resume and their CVs. So I would like Ananya to take over now. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, one and all present over here, and especially our distinguished speaker, Mr. Vinit Gholap. Sir, we are extremely sorry for mispronouncing your name at the start. I stand before you today with immense gratitude and deep sense of appreciation for the privilege of hosting this CB building event. Your presence and participation have made it truly special. Mr. Gholap, your insights and expertise have illuminated our event and enriched the knowledge of our participants. Your willingness to share your journey and knowledge has left us indelible. Incredible. We are incredibly thankful for your contribution, sir. In recognition for Mr. Gholap's invaluable contribution, we are delighted to present him with a certificate of appreciation. We sincerely hope that this certificate of appreciation serves as a token of a deep appreciation for his outstanding session. Moreover, we would like to extend our gratitude to all of you who joined us today. Your presence and engagement have made this event a resounding success. We had more than 250 plus participants today, guys. Once again, thank you, Mr. Gholap, and thank you to everyone who participated. We look forward to possibility of future collaborations, and we hope you leave here today with new insights and inspirations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity. I hope I was able to add, at least a few things in. I was able to add value to you guys, and yeah, all the best to everyone who is looking for internship placements or final placements.